petitions, presentations, and resolutions. 2011-691, a petition by Robert Capucci for a presentation on Agenda 21, the UNICLEI Sustained Development. Name and address for the record, please.
Robert Capucci from 71 Evans Street in Medford. First of all, thank you very much for this time, and please bear with me because this topic is huge, and I'm only going to be able to brush over the broad strokes of it. What I passed out to the City Council is on Agenda 21. On page 2, on the bottom, there's a website. You just highlight your browser, you put in that HTTP website, and please watch the 15-minute video that comes up. But as far as Agenda 21 goes, Agenda 21 is also known as Sustainable Development, and it's been abolished in the Carroll County of Maryland, completely removed from the town of Carver, Massachusetts, and other towns and counties and states are pushing back against Agenda 21 and Sustainable Development, such as La Cruces, New Mexico, New Rochelle, New York, Spartanburg, South Carolina, Amador County, California, Virginia, and Florida. And one presidential candidate, Newt Gingrich, has promised to sign an executive order defunding all federal dollars going to Agenda 21 and Sustainable Development, and here's why. The United Nations has determined that the poorer nations of the world are the most responsible for pollution of the planet. So they, the UN, decided the redistribution of wealth must happen from the richer countries of the world, like America, to the developing countries, such as like South America. So in 1987, the UN wrote Agenda 21. In 1990, ICLEI, I-C-L-E-I, which is a non-governmental organization, such as the Sierra Club or the Chamber of Commerce. This was formed in 1990. It's the International Council for Local Environmental Issues, ICLEI. In 1992, there was a World Summit of 178 countries in Rio de Janeiro. Then President George H.W. Bush signed this UN agreement, Agenda 21. It was furthered on by Bill Clinton, who signed Executive Order number 12852, which created the President's Council on Sustainable Development, which is Agenda 21, to begin implementation in all federal agencies. Sustainable development continued through 1999 and is now embedded in every federal agency across the United States. It's in over 600 communities and in every county in the USA. In 1997, the U.S. Conference of Mayors created the Joint Center for Sustainable Communities. It's Agenda 21. In 2001, the National Governors Association endorsed Smart Growth, which is a palatable way of selling this plan by the United Nations called Agenda 21 and Sustainable Development. It advances, when the National Council of Governors endorsed this, it advanced the statewide sustainable development. In June of this year, President Obama signed Executive Order 13575, creating the White House Rural Communities Act, enabling implementation of sustainable development of Agenda 21. All of these actions were taken without consent of the United States Congress. In short, Agenda 21 uses environmental issues to promote a political agenda. They seek to redistribute the wealth, usurp our rights as free citizens by taking private property ownership and giving it to the state, and replace free market systems with public-private partnerships. And ICLEI, the non-governmental organization, is tasked with rolling out Sustainable Development Action Plan of restructuring government so people and their rights are subject to global governmental decrees. The U.S. believes that rights are God-given and cannot be taken away. The United Nations believe rights are given by other people and therefore can be taken away by other people. ICLEI is funded by an endless list of donors, and the executive director Harvey Reuven of Ickley said, and I quote, "Individual rights will have to take a back seat to the collective in the process of implementing sustainable development, Agenda 21. The preamble of Agenda 21 states, the development and environmental objectives of Agenda 21 will require a substantial flow of new and additional financial resources to developing countries, and the financial resources are private American properties. Here's how they implement the redistribution of wealth in the United States. This ICLEI, which is in over 600 communities in every U.S. county, has major funding. World Wildlife Fund, United Nations, Earth Day Network, etc., etc. To get compliance to come into cities like this, they take some of this funding and they give you stuff like that. It's over there on that board. They give you money for clean air. They give you money, and we all want clean air. We all want clean water. Agenda 21 and sustainable development is not the way to do it because it's a falsehood. They basically, ICLEI, which is over 2,000, is one of over 2,000 of these NGOs. They come into the city, and then they create fear by citing farmland development, urban sprawl over here, too many cars on the freeway, and then they hold these local committee meetings, and they invite in stakeholders to come into a local committee meeting, but they stack the deck. They ask people that are already in support of this Agenda 21 plan, and then they come in and they vote on it, and they do surveys, and they have polls of citizens with loaded questions so that they know what the outcome is going to be from these invited stakeholders. And then the consensus by a paid professional planner and facilitator comes out. They call people in, they ask them questions they already know the answers to, and then they implement the committees to basically go out and land grab. There's a woman who lives in Falmouth, Maine. Her name is Mary Ellis Davis. She is in the fight of her life because the town of Falmouth, Maine took her land from her because it belongs to public property now. The government took it over. Thank you very much. Wait, I'm not ready for that slide. Now, I want you, just let me please finish. What I'm about to say is might make you feel uncomfortable in the paradigms you have about living in the United States of America. But what a Soviet is a network of unelected, unaccountable councils and committees like ICLEI. And there's over 2,000 of them in the United States, in every county in the United States. And it's a network of unelected, unaccountable councils and committees in charge of a top-down application of authority. And how much more authority is it for somebody to come onto your land and say, that's mine now? And basically, that's it. That's the definition of a Soviet. Numerous citizens in the United States are actually suing towns because they partnered, and it says in Article 1, Section 10, cities and towns and states are not allowed to get into contracts with ICLEI, an international foreign entity. The first city in the state of Massachusetts to implement an ICLEI plan was Medford, Massachusetts in 2001. Now, what I'm going to show you is the final outlook of the United States of America in 10 years after ICLEI is fully, in Agenda 21, is fully implemented. And you can, this is just a rough drawing that I made. If you go to that website that I have on the bottom of page 2, they show this in much better detail. But this is the face of socialism in the United States. The United Socialist Soviet of America. All these red areas after ICLEI and Agenda 21 is fully implemented are zones where people have not allowed. There's no human activity allowed in these areas. These black dots represent where people will be allowed in new development, and rack them and stack them. They take our land away, they put people in these areas. The green highlights the highly regulated buffer zones. that will be patrolled by people and basically armed. It's a Soviet, is what it is. These buffer zones will be highly regulated, and just like the red zones, people won't be allowed to go there. And the blue indicates the Indian reservations. Thank you very much. I drew this by myself today from looking at that website that I really hope that you would look towards. Because again, Medford was the first city in Massachusetts to implement an ICLEI plan. Please read that handout. Please visit the website. It's very brief, 15 minutes. Then as a body, as a Medford City Council, representing we the people, please take action. Because this ICLEI organization, non-governmental organization, has an office in this city hall, right above the city clerk's office. People, and to the citizens sitting at home, I humbly ask you to please research Agenda 21, Sustainable Development and ICLEI in more depth. And please call and write and email your duly elected representatives at the State House to vote no on a bill that's coming up called Comprehensive Land Use Reform and Partnerships Act, CLRPA for short, because it's a bill that's deceptive and it seeks to institutionalize the benchmarks of Agenda 21. If you read Agenda 21 and you read this bill that's up on the State House right now coming up for a vote, it's the same thing. And it really must be stopped because it's socialism in the United States.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. On the motion of Vice President Della Russo for suspension of the rules, all those in favor, all those